Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Boomer Live. As we promised, we are here to talk about the WTC final and, of course, the Border Gavaskar Trophy, which culminated yesterday between India and Australia. One could say, it was one of the most shortest Border Gavaskar trophies we have seen in the recent past, as a lot of these matches got over in 3 days, and the last one definitely went all the way to 5 days, and people found it very boring, of course, because they were so used to seeing the 3 day matches, and all of a sudden, for a change, people got to know test matches last for 5 days. So that was a change. But nonetheless, we are here to talk about it. And of course, India have qualified for the WTC final for the second consecutive time. Of course, it's been one hell of a ride for India. They really had some ups and downs throughout the cycle. And of course, they have made it to the second consecutive WTC final. And this time around, they'll be really hoping they defeat the arch rivals of New Zealand in the Oval and get that ICC trophy, which has been eluding India for the last 10 odd years now. So, I mean, no better way now to get that, and I really hope that we get that. I have Sandibani with me. Welcome, Sandibani, on the show. I hope you're doing very good. But let's start by talking about the WTC final. What a dramatic day of cricket. I mean, it had to be Sri Lanka versus New Zealand, which had to decide the fate of India, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was just poetic justice for Team India that New Zealand finally did something for the betterment of Team India in an ICC tournament. And I think once the game was after that Daryl Mitchell and Kane Williamson partnership, New Zealand had reached a certain stage where they couldn't really lose the game. So India were actually safe because for Sri Lanka to make it to the World Test Championship finals, they had to win both the games. So a draw wouldn't have done them good. So I think it was more or less India's or probably New Zealand's game to lose from there on. But they put up a great fight. What an innings from Williamson and Daryl Mitchell, and India finally making it to the World Test Championship finals, back to back, twice on the row. We have beaten Australia in this in 2020, in the last season that we played in Australia. We have beaten Australia at home, and now it's good. We can only expect that India will go on to beat Australia in a neutral ground.
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
We
And
have been the
there's no
superior
better.
team,
I
test team.
think Australia is one of the better oppositions to play in England than England or New Zealand, because that really favors those two teams a lot more in comparison to Australia, because Australia have a lot of hit the deck ballers. I think we will talk about it as we go along and as we approach the WTC final as well. I've had something and it's been like catching on my throat right now, so it's very weird. But yeah, let's talk about the last test match, isn't it? Because we did discuss at the end of day four. You were not there. I was discussing with Jeden as to how things changed around for India and how we were expecting a result. You reckon, to start off with, let's talk about the pitch, because that's the modus operandi over here. How we talk about the pitch, we glorify the pitch, or we absolutely tarnish the pitch. That's the segment number one, pitcher. So let's talk about the pitch. I personally thought that was a ridiculous pitch to play cricket on. It was a road. I've not seen anything more flatter than that. I think the road constructors, contractors should understand from the Ahmedabad curator as to how to build such a good surface which lasts for close to a decade or a lot more.
Yeah, I think if we would have had all the, this just goes to show that if Kohli or a Rohit Sharma or a Shubman Gill gets to play in flat tracks, they are going to pile up some records. I mean, Babar Azam scoring those runs in Pakistan, it was just like that. It was a pitch that Pakistan prepares for their tourists. So it was not a good pitch, but I think I still feel that the curators were under a lot of pressure from the first three tests, all the games getting over by the third day. So they had some pressure to prepare a pitch that would probably last for the 5 days. And something went wrong. And I think this time around, this Border Gavaskar Trophy, I think the Indian curators, they were not up to the mark. I feel that
I mean, yeah.
every time, yeah, it is likely that a home team will sort of get the curators or get a pitch that is more suitable to the home team, conditions which
Yeah.
are suitable to the home team. But I think in this time around, India having played all across the world, doing well in South Africa, England, New Zealand, Australia, doing well all across the world in test matches. I think it was they have reached a point where they don't really care about the pitch, and that just goes on to show. I mean, in the third test, we had a spin friendly pitch, and Australia, we batted first. India batted first, but were caught off guard. So things like that happen. And I think we should go beyond this home pitch and away pitch debate. And I think a pitch is same for both. There are probably some uh, advantages for the home team, and it should be
Yeah,
so, because you have three home series, three away series. So it is
yeah.
only a matter of fact that the home team will take advantage of the pitch.
Absolutely. So Kapil asked where's Jaren. Jaren is unwell at this point, so that's the reason he's not there on the live. We wish him a speedy recovery so that he gets back on our live very soon. And Rob Key says we in England like to colonize India. Uh, okay, that's very interesting that you mentioned that. So I don't know how to react to that. So I'll just leave it there. Kane Williamson is a clutch player. I think we should talk about it. I mean, Sandipani, I know we're drifting slightly away again from the topic of discussion of Border Gavaskar Trophy, but before that, we'll have to thank Kane Williamson because he's a Gujarat Titan and he sent a very good news to Ahmedabad. First up, before even he joined the Gujarat Titan camp, as to they have made India to qualify into the WTC final after knocking India out in the last cycle, of course. How do you reckon Kane Williamson is, especially stepping up in some of the biggest games? We've often seen that happen. It's not the first time, Sandeep. We've seen him do that in the World Cup final. We've seen him do that in the T20 World Cup, the WTC final, and once again, when it really matters, under pressure, second consecutive game, it has gone down the wire in New Zealand. All of a sudden, New Zealand grounds are becoming the crowd favorites. It's just wonderful cricket which we are getting to witness there.
Yeah, and I think two of the best test matches in the last 2 or 3 years have been the last two matches that New Zealand played. First, to get out from the follow on and defeat England by 1 run, it was a nail biter, and this one as well. I think New Zealand were completely out of the game after the first innings that Sri Lanka played. I think Kushal Mendes counter attacking and taking Sri Lanka to 355, and the bowlers coming in, chipping in, picking up 6-7 wickets. I think New Zealand were in no stage to take that first innings lead, and I think uh, New Zealand would be more grateful
Yeah,
towards Matt Henry, the performances of Matt Henry and Dariel Mitchell, that
yeah,
allowed New Zealand to take the game close. And then, of course, Kane Williamson is such a class player, a clutch player when the team needs him, when the team is in dire straits, like you mentioned, 2019 World Cup, and all the time when you see that the team needs him, he just comes good. And I think it's really surprising that Kane Williamson has actually proved that form across different formats can be different. I mean, he was in no form whatsoever in the ODIs or the T20Is, but come the test matches, Kane Williamson is a different player altogether. So I
Mhm.
think it's the format that suits him best, and it has suited him best for a long time now, for over a decade. And it was a great innings. But also Daryl Mitchell, that century in the first innings and that 81, 83 runs in the second
Yeah,
innings of 83, 84 balls, going at a strike rate of close to 100. That almost clinched
absolutely.
the game. Matt Henry picking up 7 wickets in the game, in the match, and then scoring that 79 odd runs in the first innings, which
Yeah,
allowed New Zealand to take that all crucial lead. Because I think if New Zealand would have fallen short in the first innings, they would have felt it very difficult to chase something in excess of 300. Credit to Sri Lanka, great batting from Angelo Matthews, a class century in that second innings. Just goes on to show his class. It was a great game, and I think it was one of the best games of the last 2 3 years for sure.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, two consecutive games just gone down the wire in New Zealand, and of course, we'll have to credit the pitch also over there where it's due. We should credit the pitch because we've been seeing a lot of demerit points which have been given throughout the world. Now, Kapil has a question which says, how can we call ourselves the world champion when we have not defeated New Zealand? I think it's a fair question, but at the same time, the New Zealand cricket team themselves should be questioning themselves because the last time around they barely won any series outside home. They defeated Sri Lanka. I think no, they did not defeat Sri Lanka. They defeated Bangladesh, West Indies, and Pakistan at home, and they went on to qualify for the WTC final. And that last match in the WTC final, they of course went on to win by defeating India. Other than that, they definitely did not have anything else to show in their entire WTC cycle. And this time around, they've not really won a single Test series. Now that's even more shocking,
And
isn't
they
it?
have lost. They have lost to Bangladesh. I think Bangladesh came to New Zealand and defeated New Zealand in one of the test matches in this cycle itself. So I think they haven't been the best of world test champions, so as to say. But I think they had some advantages of the home conditions in the first cycle. So it's just a part and parcel of the game. Being world champions does not mean you have to go on and defeat every team, every country in their land. You just have to be dominant in the game of sport, in that particular sport for a long period of time. And I think Team India right now have been dominating cricket for a long time across all formats, be it T20s, ODIs, or the test matches. We are unbeatable at home. Away matches, we have gone in and put up a great performance in England, Australia, South Africa. Also, the performance was great. We won the first one. We had the sights of winning the test series as well. But I think that is going to come soon for Team India, because they look a team who is in form no matter wherever they play. They play in South Africa, they play like South Africa is their home. And India have been very dominant in away series performances. Not something you can say for a lot of teams. I think Australia in this cycle have been very dominant all across. They had a brilliant performance in Pakistan, in Sri Lanka also a decent enough performance, and finally in India, I think Australia putting up this sort of a strong fight. If Akshar Patel and Ashwin wouldn't have put up that partnership in that second test, I think we could have had Australia winning the series 2-1. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that. We will talk about the man of the series performances put up by some of our players. But before that, I think it's about time we also look into various other factors, right? I think number one, let's talk about the Pakistan season, which went down for Pakistan, was expected world Test Championship finalists because they had a very good run. They had a very good fixture list, but they couldn't make it. Australia won in Pakistan, which is one of the highlights in the entire cycle of the WTC, you could say so. The Ashes win is, of course, there. And they went on to draw the series in Sri Lanka. And now coming to India, of course, Australia were possibly one of the strongest Australian teams coming to India. Their preparation was top notch, came to India very early. Took a spinner called Mahesh Patia to battle against Ravichandran Ashwin. Despite that, Ravichandran Ashwin is the leading wicketaker in the Test series, regardless of whoever you bring in. But at the end of the day, I personally think Australia did come back well into the series, but they just couldn't find that last mojo. Indore was possibly one off for India, you can say so. Yeah, they definitely were not there in the game, but you still have to give credit to Nathan Lyon and others. But even in Ahmedabad, you saw the tenacity of Australia really kept coming back, throughout the series, and that's a very typical Australian thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think talking about Nathan Lyon bowling in Indore, picking up 8 wickets, and I think a lot of commentators were going about like going gaga about Nathan Lyon's performance in the first innings of the Ahmedabad Test, and I agree. I think Nathan Lyon bowled better in Ahmedabad than what he bowled in
Absolutely.
Indore. He was just
I mean,
unlucky.
he
That's
worked beautifully. I mean, that was one of the best Nathan Lyon spells I've seen in the longest period of time. I know we often talk about great spells and no wickets, and this has to be right on top of the list, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think he was getting the purchase on the ball, and he was troubling the batters. The batters were not comfortable playing Nathan Lyon. Rarely do you see a foreign player or somebody come from overseas coming in the subcontinent conditions, bowling 65 overs in one innings and going on to pick up only 3 wickets, but also going at an economy rate of just over two. He just considered 151 runs in 65 overs, and he was very disciplined. Barring the onslaught that Akshar Patel and Virat Kohli put in towards the later half of the day, towards the later half of the fourth day. Apart from that, I think Nathan Lyon had been very disciplined, very well. He was bowling in good lines, and not just that. I think I have been very impressed with the Australian trio of spinners as well. I think they had favorable conditions in the other 3 tests, but Matthew Kuhneman and Todd Murphy exceeded my expectations. The
Absolutely.
way they adapted to the conditions, and I think Todd Murphy as well, along with Nathan Lyon, Todd Murphy had a very good spell in that fourth test. There was a phase where in the first session of the fourth day, where both Virat Kohli and Ravindra Jadeja early on, and Bharat coming in, things got a bit easier for them. But Ravindra Jadeja and Virat Kohli were really struggling to get the scoreboard ticking in that first session of the fourth test, and it could have gone either way if India would have lost a wicket at that point. So I think it
Absolutely.
was great disciplined bowling from Todd Murphy and Nathan Lyon. When you have a pitch where your bowlers are not being able to get that purchase or get the support from the pitch, you have to be disciplined, and
I
Australian
mean,
bowlers did that.
maybe there is a little bit more credit because Todd Murphy and Matt Kierman coming to India for the first ever time, making debut in Test cricket rather, getting first ever international call up, and to perform the way they did, it truly is commendable. And Rahul Dravid is very right in saying that maybe after a decade or so, we're seeing the best spinners come to India and really challenge India. I thought 2017 was very good when Steve O'Keefe and Nathan Lyon bowled, but after a couple of tests, they really did fade away throughout the series. But
Yeah.
I thought Steve O'Keefe was excellent in that Pune Test match in 2017. Uh, but Nathan Lyon was also good. But other than that, a pack of spinners coming in, really applying pressure constantly on India. I mean, that's where I think Matt Kuhneman, Todd Murphy, and Nathan Lyon was the standout performers. And I personally think they have a long way to go, and they will certainly be some of the linchpins for Australia in the next generation. Nathan Lyon has what, maybe a good 3 to 4 years of cricket left in him, but post Nathan Lyon, I certainly think it's going to be Todd Murphy or Matt Kuhneman who's going to definitely take on the mantle.
Yeah, definitely. And we have had players coming to India having a great performance in one game and then fading off towards the later parts of the series. But you had Todd Murphy and Matt Kuhneman both coming in, putting in the hard yards and putting in a great performance in a flat deck.
Yeah,
In Ahmedabad, it was great to see both the all the three of probably Matt Kuhneman was a bit expensive because
yeah,
Akshar Patel was trying to take the attack on the with the angle. But apart from him, I think Todd Murphy and Nathan Lyon were very consistent, hitting the right lines and very economical. And that is what you have to do. You have to apply pressure in situations where you can't pick up wickets. And I think the this is one of those occasions where Australia excelled in India because they applied pressure from both ends. Usually,
yeah,
what we used to see is Nathan Lyon bowling well from one end, and the other end, the spinners were getting targeted or the pacers were getting targeted, and there
yeah,
was no actual pressure on the Indian batters. But this time around, I think the Indian batters were really uncomfortable. And Nathan
yeah,
Lyon has the record to show for it as well. Highest wicket taker in Border Gavaskar Trophy in India versus Australia encounters. Highest wicket
yeah.
taker for any team again in Indian soil. So I think those are two records which Nathan Lyon is going to cherish.
Absolutely, and I think it only makes sense for him to be adjudged as the leading wicket taker in India by an overseas bowler as well, because he's picked up more than 55 wickets now in Indian soil, and it's only fair that you give him that credit to be one of the best touring bowlers to have ever toured India in the history, and that's fair because he's been outstanding, regardless of where he plays India. He's been outstanding against India, even in overseas soil. They really hope that he's not successful against India in England. Of course, it's early part of summer as well. But let's talk about WTC because that is the talk of the hour. That is the talk of the moment at this point. I think we should talk about it because primarily that qualification has been quite impressive. India definitely did not give themselves that chance. It was very tough because remember that drawn test match in 2021 between New Zealand and India in Kanpur really did come to haunt India at some stage, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think India just had themselves to blame. I think even at the start of the series, uh, the qualification scenario was clear for India. They did not have to depend on any other team if they could have put in a 3-1 performance. And the way they started the series, it looked like India were going to win it at least 3-1 or 4-0 because Australia did not look like winning a match after the second test or probably after the first test. The way they collapsed in that second test, in that second innings, it was a great effort for them to sort of bounce back in that third test in Indore. The pitch was obviously favorable for the spinners, but great performance from Australia. They are the table leaders, so as to say, in this cycle, and they have dominated every team. Like you mentioned, even in the away games, they have gone to Pakistan and picked up a very rare series win in Pakistan, which is very difficult for other teams to do as well because right now the pitches that Pakistan are creating, it is very difficult to get a result. First of all, secondly, to win or to lose, that's the second part of it. So winning the Ashes, winning in Pakistan, some very special matches for Australia in this cycle. But I think India had had did not have the easiest of routes, but still they had the qualification scenario in their hands. They could have won 3-1 and qualified straight away. And just to clarify, even if India would have lost this game or they would have drawn it, it wouldn't have mattered to them because if even if India would have lost this game, Sri Lanka would have had to go on and win the series 2-0. So the qualification scenarios were more favorable towards India heading into this series once they won the first two tests. But good that they held their nerves in the series, and I think this was the 16th consecutive home test series that India have won. So
Since
that
the
goes on
loss
to,
against England in 2012.
yeah, so 16 series wins in 11 years in home. So that's a special
Crazy stuff.
feat altogether. But this is also the first time in over 10 years that they have not won two consecutive games in India. They lost the third test, they drew the fourth test. This has
I
never
mean, yeah,
happened
that is
in the last
that's
10.
certainly slightly worrisome, but then
Yeah.
you still have to give it to India, man. I mean, I don't think a lot of teams in the world have got that dominant record at home. You're still winning series at the end of the day. I know that Ahmedabad Test match could have gone anywhere if that was a good pitch, and sadly for India, after that loss which they had indoor, they had to be slightly circumspect in terms of the kind of pitch they were going to set up in Ahmedabad. But nonetheless, I think we have to talk about WTC final as we're heading towards there. Uh, Now the biggest question for Team India is they're definitely not going to play three spinners, and there is a possibility India might only play with one spinner as well. And now the biggest question is who's going to be India's wicket-keeper batter? Is it going to be Kona Bharat? It's going to be KL Rahul, or it's going to be Ishan Kishan? And second one, there's no Jasprit Bumrah, no Prasidh Krishna available, and Umesh Yadav is slightly iffy here and there. Do you think Jaydev Unatkar is a good shout in English conditions? Left arm seamer can swing the ball quite a bit. Can be Jaydev Unatkar can be a wild card in that final, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And with the form that Jaydev Unadkat has been in the domestic circuit, uh, Jaydev Unadkat has been overly hyped in the IPL for no reason. I think he was the highest paid Indian
Don't
bowler
you
in
reckon it's a very
2017-18.
similar story with Ashok Dinda as well? Because these two bowlers have been has been imperial in the domestic circuit. They picked up wickets everywhere in the red ball format, and they got called up to the wrong format and they got judged in front of millions and millions of fans because of their poor show in the white ball format, which is not their forte. Now, for
Yeah.
Jaydev Unatkar, he's a phenomenal or he's a giant in the domestic circuit. Similarly, for Ashok Dinda as well, you look at his stats in the red ball format for Bengal. An opening spell from Ashok Dinda is one of the toughest to play, is what a lot of batters in the domestic circuit say.
Yeah, definitely. And I think both Jaydev Unadkat and especially Ashok Dinda, I think Ashok Dinda gets a lot less credit than what he deserves. I think with everything that he has done for India, Bengal, and cricket in general, I think he has set up foundations for pace bowling academy all across India. And I think he's a great bowler altogether. Even in the format that he got to play, I think T20Is, that rightly mentioned, not his format, but I think he still had decent numbers. But well, he was going at an economy rate of in excess of 8 or 9. But still, I think Jaydev Unadkat still has it in him, and his performances for Saurashtra just goes on to show it. I mean, you talk about Jaydev Unadkat in IPL, and then you judge a player, but you have to go back to Ranji Trophy and just see his stats. I think he is with the ball as great as a Wasim Jafar with the bat. Wasim Jafar in the domestic circuit with the bat, whatever he had done for Mumbai, similar achievements Jaydev Unadkat
I
has
mean, I
achieved for
remember
Saurashtra.
when Ashok Dinda really got called up for the team for Team India in 2013,
Yeah.
2012. Around that time, he got called up to the one day team and also T20 team. And his performance not go as per one would have liked it to go because he was definitely a superstar when it comes to the domestic circuit. And all of a sudden, the spotlight was on him because he was conceding 60 runs in 10 overs, more than 8 runs per over in T20 games. So it just that did not really fit into that ideal white ball bowler. And that's why I personally think, bowlers like Jaydev Unatkar or Ashok Dinda, if you would have given them in the right format, I think they would have succeeded a lot more than what they had ultimately. Because we often tend to judge people based on their white ball prowess. Similarly with batters as well. It's like judging Pujara based on T20 performances. It's unfair. With batters, we give the leeway. I think for bowlers as well, we should give the leeway in terms of choosing their own format and their format. Maybe that format could be their forte. Similarly for Umesh Yadav is a better test bowler than a T20 bowler.
Definitely, and I think this is because in India, with the domestic circuit going on with the Ranji Trophy, you have a lot of opening bowlers. Jaydev Unadkat is an opening bowler. Umesh Yadav is an opening bowler. You call Ashok Dinda another opening bowler who does not find a place in the Indian team at that point in the Test circuit, because you have bowlers like Jasprit Bumrah, Umesh Yadav, Mohammad Shami playing for Team India, Bhuvneshwar Kumar. And then I think when Ashok Dinda was playing, I think even Zahir Khan was there towards the later half of his career,
Yeah.
towards the end of his career. So you had a lot of bowlers, and there was no real opening in the Test format. So you have to try players in different formats, which does not suit a particular player.
Yeah.
So I think that that is a choice of plenty that Team India has had for a long time now. But I think Jaydev Unadkat is going to be a great surprise package if you get him for the World
Yeah.
Test Championship finals,
He'll
because
also give you a little bit of batting as well. He's not a mug with the bat. He can actually bat pretty
yeah.
well if you give him that opportunity to bat at number 9, number 10. And if you're going to use him as an opening ball up front, left arm angle against David Warner or Usman Khawaja, that's going to really trouble most of the batters, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And we have seen that seeming all rounders do very good in England conditions. You had Bhuvneshwar Kumar going in that 2014 series in England, scoring plenty of runs. I think he scored 2 or 3 half centuries in that
Yeah.
series. So you have the lower order perform for Team India in England, because more often than not, the top order gets troubled by the likes of James Anderson and Stuart Broad. And with the bowling attack that Australia has, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, and Mitchell Stark, it is going to be very difficult for India at Oval as well. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of pitch we get in Oval. But
Or would you play Shardul Thakur as your third seamer and go with two spinners? Because I know that can be slightly risky because then you're having two main pieces because Shardul Thakur is very erratic. You really can't judge what kind of Shardul Thakur are you going to get. And to use him as a third seamer is in itself a weakling in itself because if the pitch is not going to turn, then if you're going with two spinners and Shardul Thakur, that really thins your bowling attack by a long margin.
yeah, I think I totally agree with you, and also with Shardul Thakur. Even though he is in KKR right now, my favorite team, but I still feel Shardul Thakur is not a test bowler who can sort of be consistent to a certain extent of time. He is consistent, probably. He has that one odd spell. In a spell of say 15 to 20 overs, he'll have that one spell of 4 to 5 overs where he's really threatening. But other than that, I think he's not really consistent. He really errs in his lines and lengths, and there is no consistency, and he might end up going for a lot of runs. So I would, if given the opportunity, I would rather prefer a Jaydev Unadkat over a Shardul Thakur, because also because of the current form. I think Jaydev Unadkat has been in a far superior form, uh, bowling in test matches or first class matches, as compared to a Shardul Thakur, and he got that one opportunity in Bangladesh and did not really play, and he was picked ahead of a Shardul Thakur. So you have to. I think he's Jaydev Unadkat is on top of the pecking order when it comes to when you compare him with Shardul Thakur. And talking about two spinners, I think India right now with Jadeja coming in at number 5, India are going to keep Jadeja as the batting, or probably he's going to play as he can probably play as a batsman as well. He has an average in excess of 34-35. Jadeja, if he can come in at number 6, number 7, be that all-rounder for Team India, and you can probably have an Ashwin in the team as well. So I think if you
I
have
mean,
to play two
that's
spinners,
interesting that you point that out. Would you rather go with two spinners? Because this is predicted to be one of the coldest ever summers in England. Right now, it's snowing in England, all across England.
yeah.
Now, the test match is going to be played from June 7th to 11th, which is still very, very early in England in terms of summer. It's going to be extremely cold. We've seen the last WTC final as well. It was also played in June, and it was cold. And India did make a mistake by playing two spinners in that match. So, will India again go with two spinner combination, or can India go with four pacers where the all round pacer can be Shardul Thakur? Then you can have three main pacers in Unadkat, Mohammad Siraj, and Mohammad Shami, because it could actually be a variety of fast bowling attack as well. Then you have a Mohammad Siraj, a Mohammad Shami, a Jaydev Unadkat, and the Shardul Thakur to come in the middle overs, and then a Ravindra Jadeja, because Ravindra Jadeja always gets that nod ahead when you compare him with Ravichandran Ashwin, primarily because of his batting and of course because of his fielding skill set as well.
Yeah, I think it is going to be a tough call, and we are still pretty much 3 months away from June. So I think we still have some time to figure that out. But I think a bowling attack consisting of Mohammad Siraj, Jaydev Unadkat, Mohammad Shami, and Shardul Thakur, I think it is going to be a lot lesser potent when you compare it to Josh Hazelwood, Mitchell Stark, and Pat Cummins. So I think both Shardul Thakur and Jaydev Unadkat should not find a place in that team. I think either of them, and then you can probably have a Umesh Yadav coming in as the fourth pacer if you are going to play with four pacers. But I
Yeah.
would still prefer that three pacer and two spinner thing, because we all know that what Ashwin can generate, even if there is nothing in the pitch. He has gone on to become a more experienced, and I'm a fan of Ravichandran Ashwin in test matches in general. No matter where we are playing, that no that bowling spell of 6 for 91 in the first innings of the
Yeah.
last test just goes
But
on
you
to
reckon
show
that's
his
still,
potential.
that's still a slight bit of it's a risk, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
ultimately, maybe
definitely.
Ravichandran Ashwin might give you a lot more with the bat, but with the ball, Shardul Thakur has got this knack of picking up weird wickets at times whenever you need him. And Shardul
Yeah.
Thakur has got this dog in him to really punch above the weight and score some crucial runs as well. I know he's been very underwhelming when it comes to his recent performances in overseas conditions, especially in South Africa in 2021, England in 2021 as well. But after that, even if you look at that English series, the match, I remember it was in Southampton where India went on to defeat England. That knock which Shardul Thakur played, that was so crucial in terms of getting that win for India ultimately. And remember, he also picked up 7 wickets in South Africa. I think it was in Johannesburg or
Yeah.
was it in Durban? One of these,
Durban, I think it was in Durban. Yeah.
or was it in Cape Town? I'm not sure. So one of these places,
The,
he did pick up 7 wickets.
Yeah, he did. But with Shardul Thakur, you also have that one off day where England went on to chase 370 runs comfortably. You had a bowling attack consisting of Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj, and Shardul Thakur, which did not do any justice to their talents. So I think with Shardul Thakur, it's a bit iffy. It's a thing that India will definitely consider. They'll definitely consider between Shardul Thakur, Jaydev Unadkat, and Ravichandran Ashwin. But I think right now, I think Jaydev Unadkat should be on top of the pecking order if you compare him with Shardul Thakur. And I have a
You can Jaydev Unadkat will get the nod even ahead of Umesh Yadav because Umesh Yadav is still there. Umesh Yadav is still there in the pecking order, right up there.
yeah. Yeah, Umesh Yadav. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a tough call because Umesh Yadav on his day can be very good, and I think the last spell that he had going wicketless, considering in excess of 100 runs in the first innings, he was a bit unlucky. You had a drop catch in the first innings of Umesh's bowling, and
I think
I
yeah, I
think
think we have.
yeah, I think
Wasn't that
Bharat dropped a
Shami?
catch,
I think that was Shami.
or was
That
it
was
Umesh?
Shami who had.
I have a feeling it was Umesh, but
No.
yeah.
Umesh Yadav had a very bad test match because he was looking all around. He didn't look fit to me. He looked
Yeah, he did not
slightly
look
unfit.
fit, but he was still bowling. And if you just go back to the
I
last
mean,
test, the third test.
looking at Umesh Yadav's record in England, it's pretty bad. Now you put all the countries ahead of Umesh Yadav. I think England is one place where he should have ideally had a lot of success, but he hasn't had a lot of success.
But same is the
Umesh
case with
Yadav is
Mohammad
at his
Shami.
best
Same is the case with
on
Mohammad
drier
Shami, and
surfaces.
yeah, I totally agree with you. He hasn't had the best of records in England, but Mohammad Shami too does not have a very good record in England. I think he has been one of the unluckiest bowlers in England and
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah,
Mohammad
that's true.
Shami
That's true.
has a good record.
I remember watching the Sky Sports footage of where Mohammad Shami was landing the ball and the number of time he was missing the outside edge and not getting that exact outside edge. So I think it was who was the comment? I think it was Nasser Hussain or Ian Bishop who was pointing it out that he has to be just 1 feet more fuller in terms of getting those edges. Mohammad Shami is bowling beautifully. He's missing those edges every single time, but then he's not getting them right. He's just missing
Yeah.
the bat, missing the edge. So I reckon Mohammad Shami is still a better bowler. He still can give you those wickets. I thought Ishan Sharma was the best bowler available in England, but now he's no more with Team India. But now with the injuries, given form, now you're given the transition as well, I think Jaydev Unadkat is a very good option because whatever we've seen of Jaydev Unadkat in conditions which aid seam and swing bowling, he becomes all of a sudden a much more tougher ball than anybody else on the team because then he can swing the ball both the ways to right-handers and left-handers. And remember, Australia will have a lot of left-handers as well. That's going to trouble
Yeah.
them a lot with Jaydev Unadkat trying to take the ball away from them.
Yeah, and I think Jaydev Unadkat probably will be ahead in the pecking order even when it comes to Umesh Yadav because of the variety he'll bring with the left arm seam. Because you have Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj, I think these two are going to be sure starters. So both right arm pacers, and then you'll have the likes of Jaydev Unadkat who can sort of come in and be a potent threat for the
I
left
mean, it'll be
handers.
some story, isn't it? If Jaydev Unadkat helps India to win that WTC after helping Saurashtra to win Ranji Trophy. If there was a cricketer of the year, maybe you can give it to him then. Just because of one performance. I know it's unfair, but then you need someone to step up and really deliver the goods when it matters the most.
Yeah, but
And I
but
think
when you talk
Jaydev
about
Unadkat is
Jaydev
a clutch
Unadkat
player.
bowling in the opening spell, I think he'll need proper support from the other end as well. When you talk about Saurashtra's success and Jaydev Unadkat being the potent threat, you also have a Chetan Sakaria who is equally threatening with the ball
You're
in
telling
the
me that
early on.
India should take Chetan Sakaria as well just to support Jaydev Unadkat.
I think
I mean,
Chetan
not a bad
Sakaria
option.
is one of those
Definitely can
underrated
consider him.
players. I think
I
he
mean,
he
in conditions which aid swing bowling, you can consider Chetan Sakaria, but I think Mohammad Shami bowling tight spells up there. and challenging both the edges alongside Jaydev Unatkar is going to be very, very good opening spell to watch. But let's talk about another important topic as well, because we did discuss that we will talk about it. I think it's about time we talk about the wicketkeeper position in Team India, because we already have a question or a comment which says about how wicketkeeper position is going to be slightly more an iffy position going into the WTC final, because now KS Bharat maybe was underwhelming with the bat, but definitely was good with the gloves. And he had few drop chances here and there that every keeper will have. Considering it's his first series, I will give him that leeway there. But in England, in a big game like WTC final, considering KL Rahul is your 50 over format keeper, not a T20 keeper, a 50 over format keeper was kept brilliantly for India whenever he has kept. You reckon for that one off match, KL Rahul is a better fit in the middle order, which gives India that confidence as well with the bat, and also that surety that this guy can pull something off.
Yeah, I think when it comes to wicket keeping, I think KS Bharat was one of the best keepers in India right now, and I think he will be personally very disappointed with his performance behind the stumps in this series. I think he is a far better keeper than what happened. There was some difficult chances that he put down, but KS Bharat keeping in the domestic circuit would have probably taken 9 of those 10 catches. So I think he'll not be happy with his performance behind the stumps, and also what he added with the bat. I think his natural game is to attack, and I think that is what he did in the last test. He had some favorable conditions as well, and also in that second test he was looking to take the attack on the bowlers in that second innings where India was chasing 110-15 odd runs. So you give him to play his natural game, and I think KS Bharat is a great batsman. But all in all, I think he'll not be very happy with his debut series, both with behind the stumps and with the bat as well. So I feel he could have excelled, and I totally agree with Kapil over there. He lost a I won't say lost a golden opportunity, because until and unless Rishabh Pant is fit and fine to go, I think KS Bharat is going to be the long time keeper for Team India in Test matches. He's going to be their number two option, and he's going to be the chosen keeper ahead of KL Rahul. But having said that, one game, all important game, you can't have the luxury of dropping those catches. And KL Rahul is a better batter than KS Bharat. Uh, you have to agree that, and he has had performances in the middle order in the ODI format. So you might as well go with KL Rahul for that one-off Test match, because I think he'll definitely add something more than KS Bharat with the bat for sure. But and also he has a great record in England as well. In the last series that India toured to England, he scored a century. He had those opening partnerships with Rohit Sharma that got India off to a great start. And so I think he is going to be very important. And I feel that KL Rahul just might get the nod ahead of KS Bharat. Having said that, I think
Absolutely.
KS Bharat is the keeper for the long time.
Absolutely. I also think that, because right now it's about that particular game, and Jaren says off measure with gloves doesn't prefer to keep himself. Remember the chance he dropped to India. I mean, I don't really think so, because you're talking about KL Rahul. He's been a much better keeper in the recent past. Now talking about two series which he had to keep in the one day format. He's been exceptional behind the wicket, and even Australia last time around when he kept in the ODI format, he was pretty good behind the wicket. I mean, talking about one catch, I think a lot of keepers have dropped plenty of catches. I think it's just unfair to cherry pick that one catch and say KL Rahul is a bad keeper. And KL Rahul himself has been told by team management that he's a preferred choice for the World Cup. Now, that is the difference over here. If KL Rahul is a preferred choice keeper for the 50 over World Cup this year, then I don't think a 50 over keeper should shy away from keeping in that one off test match. I know England is going to be a tougher condition because ball is going to move around, but it's still easier to keep in England than to keep in India on a turning track. So, on that very regard, I think KL Rahul is not a bad option. And I'm just taking back to 2015 when KL Rahul kept on a very, on a turning wicket in Sri Lanka when Ridhiman Saha got injured in that first innings. Takes me back there. I think it was in Colombo where he kept in the second innings and he kept beautifully there. So that was the first time when KL Rahul kept for India. So he has got the potency
No,
in
I
him to
think
keep
KL Rahul
wickets.
also kept for India in his first tour to Australia way back in 2014. I think
He did
in
not
one of the
keep there.
games.
I don't know. I'm not sure if he kept in the. No, Saha kept. Saha kept.
No, no,
Because
Saha
after
kept,
Dhoni's
but I think
retirement,
KL Rahul was the keeper in one of those games where
no, it
Saha
was in
got
Sri
injured or
Lanka,
something.
Salibani, where he kept for the first time on a turning wicket in Colombo, where he kept in the second innings where Saha got injured. So that's where I remember him keeping in test matches. But if he's your preferred white ball keeper in the 50 over format, then there should be no no doubt, or no half measures, and giving him that glove for that one game. I know on the larger scheme
And
of
I
things,
think
it
that
might
will
sound
that
very
will
weird.
just strengthen the batting order as well. If you have a KL Rahul coming in at
Absolutely.
number 5, you can have a Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma, Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, and Ravindra Jadeja coming till
Yeah,
number 7. And then you can
absolutely.
have either a Ashwin or a Unadkat or a Shardul Thakur at 8. I would
Well and
still
truly,
go with
I
Ashwin
think
at
that's
number
going to
8.
give India a well balanced unit in terms of having that. Okay, there's a KL Rahul to come at number 6. Even if there's a if India is going to the second new ball at the end of 80 overs, there's an opening batter who can come in and maybe weather that storm. And I think KL Rahul's best position in international cricket is middle order. Middle order. I've been vouching for it for the longest period of time. He's been unfairly put up at the top of the order. He has no clarity at the top of the order. He's very jittery. Put him in the middle order, and I think you're going to see great things from KL Rahul. We've already seen him in T20 format as well, batting at number 4 for RCB, scoring that 100 in Florida against West Indies. Now scoring plenty of runs in the middle order for Team India, in the one day format as well. So I am always of the opinion KL Rahul is not a bad player, but he's just using him badly. So I know KL Rahul prefers opening the batting. Maybe someone should tell him you're better suited at number 5, number 4, even in Test format. I see KL Rahul to be your next middle order batsman. Or at least you can try him at number 3, post Pujara. I think it's unfair to write off KL Rahul so early. I'm a big fan of KL Rahul's talent, as we all are, but it's just been there and thereabouts. But I
But I
really hope for
also
that
feel
particular
that
test match,
with the way
maybe in
that
the long
Shubman Gill
term,
is
it's not a good
playing,
idea.
yeah,
Yeah,
with the way Shubman Gill is playing right now, and also you have a opener in the form of Rohit Sharma, I don't see a place for KL Rahul at the top of the order. So
not
he'll
just
have to
that.
come
Look,
in
look
the
at the
middle
picking
order.
order as well. There is Yashasvi and Prithvi Shaw trying to break the door there. Yashasvi Jaiswal has been in killer form. He's been one of the best out there in domestic cricket. He's one of the most technically sound openers out there in the country. I think we had a question on Sanju Samson as always, because we are talking about cricket keeper. I think it's about time we take that question up, and it's only from one man in the show all the time. Uh, Sanjay, you reckon Sanju Samson as an outside chance for the WTC final? My man is in Chennai meeting Rajnikant. Can he get some superpowers finally?
I think it is very unlikely, with especially because India have now they have established that Ishan Kishan is up the pecking order when you compare him with Sanju Samson, even in the Test format. So Sanju Samson will definitely not make it for the World Test Championship finals. But post that, I'll be very excited to see how the Indian middle order goes, because you also have a Sarfaraz Khan waiting in the ranks, who can come in at number 5, number 6, and do the job for the team. So I think a lot of pressure will be on players like Shreyas Iyer and Surya Kumar Yadav to
Yeah,
perform if they have to have any chance of making it in that middle order. I think Shreyas Iyer right now has established his position in that middle order. Even though he
mhm,
had a terrible series in Australia, he was not
yeah.
100% fit. And also, if given an opportunity, if Khawaja wouldn't have taken that blinder in the third test, I think KL Rahul would have changed the complexion of the game. So
Absolutely.
he's that X factor player who you should
And
have in
also,
your team.
Sanjay, I think talking about which, this could possibly be the end of a cycle for a lot of these players as well. We might not see a lot of these players going into the next WTC cycle. Starting from Rohit Sharma, the captain, Ravichandran Ashwin, Cheteshwar Pujara, Umesh Yadav to that list. This is possibly the end of the era for Team India. Now you already saw Ishan Sharma, Ajinkya Rahane, all of them being going out of the team. Now for Rohit Sharma, the captain as well. I'm not sure if he's going to be captaining India in the next WTC cycle. Maybe this could be the end of this cycle, and now India will be looking at a 3-year new cycle with new players in the ranks. Maybe Rohit Sharma will still play for Team India. There's no doubt about that. Maybe him as a captain, he might look to give up on Test captaincy, especially because it's going to be taking a lot out of you. India has got a long WTC cycle coming up. Tour to Australia, tour to South Africa, not easy at all, because you have two mega tours lining up for you, and then of course you have to stay in the hunt for the next WTC cycle as well, because India have been such a profound test unit in the last few years. So these are definitely questions to answer. I think we will talk about it as we go ahead in the future lives as well. We'll have to end the live right here because we have a football game starting in another 30 minutes, 1 hour rather, because there's Champions League night tonight, and we will be back hopefully tonight or maybe tomorrow to review that game. It was a pleasure joining you all. We'll have a build up now
And
to the
hopefully,
ODI
and
World Cup.
hopefully, yeah, just hopefully we'll also be back to analyze RCB's performance in the Women's Premier League.
We're not talking about that. I don't need to talk about that.
or probably MI's performance in the Women's Premier League. I think both of them have had completely separate campaigns. 5 wins out of 5 for MI, 5 losses out of 5 for RCB. And I think even a Gujarat Giants and a Delhi Capitals are having completely different. That is 1 win out of 5 games for Gujarat Giants, 4 wins out of 5 games for
Bro, I
Delhi
think
Capitals.
RCB has been unlucky, man. I mean, I've been watching these games, but I just think it's a luck. It's just not there. I don't know. It's not bought in the market. Also, you can't find that. I don't
Much
know
much like
what
the
to do.
much
Man, the
like
Mumbai Indians
Kohli's
is a
campaign of
crazy team,
2016.
man. I have no idea how is that team so good after having such an underwhelming auction. I think it's just the Mumbai Indians thing, isn't it? They don't
Uh,
need a team. They don't need players. They just have a team.
Yeah, and I think a lot of young, and I think the leading wicket taker in the women's is Isak, who we were very impressed by, an Indian talent. And Mumbai Indians have gone complete Indian bowling unit. They have a complete Indian bowling unit, even though most of their all rounders does the bowling for them. But you also
Yeah.
have a completely Indian bowling unit, and Mumbai's success have been because of their all rounders, and
Yeah.
RCB have failed because say a Ellis Perry or a Sophie Devine and an Amelia Kerr haven't done what they were expected to do. The Mumbai Indians all rounders have had a
I mean,
far better tournament,
we are
starting
talking
from Haley
about
Matthews.
Hayley Matthews,
Yeah, Haley
who
Matthews,
was
Nat Siver.
ignored, who was ignored in the first set of auction. Now she's the MVP of this tournament. I mean, you can
We
talk
did
about
have
definitely
her.
about various
We
other players. I'll
definitely
definitely
did
get
have
that
her
in.
in our players to watch out for. Haley Matthews is a very underrated player playing for West Indies. I
Can you
think
believe it? She's been picking up wickets. She's been scoring runs. She's been that linchpin for Mumbai Indians and holding this team together. And different performers. I know Harmanpreet Kaur has been exceptional this women's IPL so far. I mean, in terms of her form, since that last innings which she played against Australia, she all of a sudden regained her form. She's in very good mojo. I hope she continues this. But other than that, I think it's just a good thing that Mumbai Indians are showing the world once again the core values of that franchise remains in how we build a team and not on the players.
And also,
And
I'm
that's so
very impressed by
important.
Delhi Capitals as well, because you have a Meg Lanning and Shefali Verma who are pulling the games for the team. Delhi Capitals does not have a very deep batting order, but their top order is doing the job for the team in all the games.
I think Delhi Capitals have had a good middle order as well this time around. You look at some of the games where they've really pulled their team out of the hole in a couple of these situations. I know Jemmy hasn't really come to the party yet, but more often than not, the middle order have stepped up. I know Shefali has been in some good form, but barring that, I also think a lot of the players from Delhi Capitals have had chipped in when it matters more. For example, yesterday, Mesnen Cap and also looking at Jess Johansson, they've all stepped up in crucial junctures for Delhi Capitals. And I think that's what is a hallmark of a champion team. Different players stepping up at different situations, and Tanya Bhatia has yet to get a chance. Shika Pandey can also hit a ball. A lot of these players are yet to get an opportunity. So I
And
reckon in
Shikha
that
Pandey has been
regard,
exceptional with the ball. I think with the ball, I think Shikha Pandey has been one of the best pacers in this tournament. And she picks up wickets at regular intervals, and that just did not allow RCB to get any momentum in the last game.
absolutely. I think RCB story is one of those where I have nothing to say. Just leave it right there. But before that, what do you reckon? Shreyas Iyer making it to the IPL or not?
Uh, I would hope so. He makes it to the IPL, because otherwise we don't have a
Do you
captain.
really want Shreyas Iyer for the IPL or the WTC? The question is yours.
I want Shreyas Iyer fit for the WTC, because I think he'll add a lot to the table, and I also feel that KKR has enough in their tank. They can
Without
go
Shreyas
without
Iyer,
Shreyas
like
Iyer.
we don't need Shreyas Iyer
No,
anymore.
we definitely need Shreyas Iyer, but I think it is more important for India to get that ICC, but that ICC jinx
But you can
of their
Shreyas Iyer
back.
can be such an important player in English conditions, though.
Yeah, definitely. I think the counter-attacking game, if India goes on to, with the way Cheteshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli plays at certain stages, you need a Shreyas Iyer or a KS Bharat who is looking to attack and take the attack on the opposition. Because even talking about Kohli playing that extraordinary knock of 186, bringing up his 175th century, but there was a phase where Kohli was just looking to block the ball, and you need players who can, or from the other end, can take the
Yeah,
pressure of your partner. So I think Shreyas Iyer is going to be very important in the
absolutely.
WTC game.
Very important that you mentioned that. I think we are going to come to the end of our live. A lot of these questions we hopefully we've answered a lot of them. Rightfully, Jaren has mentioned about Haley Matthews and KL Rahul's wicket-keeping conundrum. I think we'll have a special live as we build up to the one-day series as well. It starts on 17th. India taking Australia in Mumbai. So we will be back tomorrow to talk about it, or yeah, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, also talk about it, and of course about the UCL which is on. So make your teams on Boomer 11 for all these games. It's absolutely free of cost to play in Boomer 11, and you can also try out our predictor feature as well, as IPL is also near, and a lot of these games are going on right now. Have a good time, all of you. See you all very soon. Bye bye.
Good night, guys.